A Christian pastor stopped a funeral after it had started, after finding out that the deceased was gay. The family and friends of Vanessa Collier were stunned by her sudden death. 33-year-old, died on December 30th, was married, had 2 children with her wife. The chapel where the funeral was being held was chosen because of its convenient location, which was close to where the deceased grew up in Lakewood, Colorado. But New Hope Ministries turned out to be the wrong place for this ceremony. On the day of the funeral, Collier's family and friends gathered in the New Hope Chapel, where Pastor Ray Chavez was leading the memorial, and about 15 minutes into the service, he stopped and noticed that there were pictures of the deceased with her wife and children that had been placed on the coffin, and said the pictures must go. The gathering of people was obviously shocked, then devastated, and ultimately got very, very angry. They picked up their flowers, they picked up their programs, they picked up the casket, Lewis, and marched across the street to the newcomer funeral home, which not only had no problem whatsoever with the deceased being a lesbian woman, they were accommodating and immediately put together a service for this group of people. 2 incredible stories here. One, this church, Ray Chavez, the pastor, choosing to end this ceremony after finding out that the deceased was a lesbian woman, but also the accommodating nature of the funeral home across the street with minutes notice was able to put together funeral services here. Just a both disturbing story and also a story that shows you that there actually are still nice, empathetic people out there running businesses.
One of the big questions for me is 2 questions. Why was the family here in the first place? Maybe no one knew anything about the position of this particular church or whatever.
Well, in the same way, I assume, Lewis, that in the same way that Ray Chavez did not know that the deceased was a lesbian, the family may have had equally no idea that Ray Chavez was a homophobe.
Right. But also, just knowing that that this is the position of, generally, the position of the church, I mean, shouldn't you just choose somewhere else to have your service?
Absolutely. And this is probably something that is legal in the sense that when we talk about businesses that are being run, there are certain non-discrimination rules that some states have and that really all states should have. But here we are talking about what's going on inside of the church. And I actually say, if this is their bigoted worldview and it's staying within the bounds of their church, let them do that. My concern in terms of non-discrimination laws is not so much within churches. I actually think that people should just be getting out of all of these churches that are discriminatory. But the broader issue here of religious freedom used by pseudo-Christians, when it applies within the church, okay, I wouldn't want to have my funeral, I wouldn't want to have anyone I know's funeral at a service where the church is bigoted. I don't want them to be forced, right? I would rather give my business to someone else. But when it goes beyond the church and their expression of religious freedom limits the freedom and liberty of others not to be discriminated against when it comes to businesses and public organizations, that absolutely is unacceptable. And that's really what is illuminated to me by this story.
I think, yeah, that's an important part of it. And you know what? Let's not stop at funerals. Let's stop having weddings too at these churches.
Oh, absolutely. No question about it. But let's take a break. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/dpakman. I have a great recommendation coming up for you after the break.